Hi class, today we are going over our chapter 7, survey research. So per the evaluations that I gave you, or the survey rather that I gave you, several of you indicated to me that you guys would prefer some condensed lectures. I have done something in the middle, so you'll get more than just a short lecture, but we're kind of keeping more of the essential things in. And then when we meet in our Zoom meetings on Wednesday, I would, for this week, like to show you all how to conduct a survey. So we'll kind of talk a little bit more about survey research, but I also would like to show you how exactly you might create a survey using the program Qualtrics. So we'll work on trying to do that on Wednesday. Okay, so let's get started with our chapter 7. And so we've talked now about several different types of research, right? So last week we kind of talked about these observational research studies. Well, sometimes when we are collecting data, we need to collect data on using lots of people, right? And so surveys are a really, really great way for us to collect data. In fact, it's really common to use survey data. You guys have been a part of several surveys, I am sure. Every time even somebody calls you back to ask for your customer experience, that's a survey. And when you think about a survey and the dissemination of a survey, the most important part of a survey is designing it. Right? So how many times have you read a survey and you're like, well, that's a crappy question, or yeah, but that's not entirely what I mean. I wish I could have written something else in. And so this kind of gets at the crux of survey research, which is it's great. We can all write questions, but what makes a good survey? And that's what we're going to work on this week. So I'd like to begin with this. Anytime you think to yourself, I could just make up this survey, stop. And the reason why I tell you to stop is because most surveys have probably already been created. And not only have they been created, but they've been empirically tested. So there've been research actually done on how good the survey is. And so why would you want to just put together a few questions, right, that you just think about when you could use a survey that somebody created, somebody empirically tested, somebody has already run factor analyses on, found out which items are good and which ones are not, right? That would be a better survey to use. And so that's what I would encourage you all to do for your research projects. I would tell you that as a last resort, create your own survey if you are going to be using survey research. In fact, I would highly recommend that you use research that's a survey that's already been created. And, here, save yourself time and use something that you know is going to be of high quality. So the point of you coming up with this research study isn't that you have to do every small little detail. Farm out the stuff that you can, and surveys would be one of those things. All right, but let's just say that I've combed all of the literature and I can't find a survey that wants to look at something that I'm interested in. So I'll give you an example of this. I actually am very interested in bullying, right, as an area of research. And in fact, I argue that that bullying is a social stressor, and it operates really similarly to a physical stressor, right? So when I'm physically stressed out, these are the things that happen to me. I argue that that's the same thing that happens when you get bullied. Your cortisol level rises. You start to have more and more stress because of that, right? This can influence your overall health. So I argue that, well, it's not surprising. I turned in a research article and I had a reviewer that says, Well, how do we not know that it's a daily stress, right? That I'm getting bullied, and that's very similar to a daily stress. So daily stress, for example, is sitting in traffic, or having somebody cut you in line at the grocery store, right? These would be things that are annoying, they're irritating, very stressful, but they're little things that happen on a regular basis. And so I wanted to take a look at these daily stressors and give my participants this daily stressor quiz. But interestingly, no one had created a daily stressor survey for adolescents. There's tons of surveys that exist for older adults, but I couldn't find one that was for adolescents. So at this point, I had to create a survey. And what I did is I modified questions from an already existing survey. So you might find yourself in something kind of similar, right? And so when you are constructing that survey, go back to that validity. Think about the construct validity. Think about the face validity. And then you can even think about further factor analysis. Which of these questions actually gets at what I am attempting to assess? So which of these questions actually looks at daily stress? All right, so now let's get to it. And I want to conduct my research. I want to conduct my questions. So we first of all have to think about the words that I'm actually putting on the paper. And this is really important because some words might be overly technical, or people just might not know them, right? So let's say that I write, a abbreviated acronym, right? RM. Well, you might know that it's research methods because we're in research methods, but other people might not know that. So if they don't have that context, they're going to wonder, what the heck is this research, or what does this question ask me? They won't even be able to answer it because it's so filled with jargon. I'm using vague or imprecise terms. I'm going to give you examples of some of these things. Not using grammar appropriately in a sentence, right? So if I have to read your question more than once, it's a bad question. You need to go back and rewrite it again. The phrasing, is there so many components that it is influencing my memory? Do I have to think about all of these things frequently? Embedding questions, right? So making people feel a certain way, almost leading them to an answer that you're looking for. So above all else, make sure that your question is simple, right? Your survey is simple. Your questions are simple. Avoid double-barreled questions. So this means asking two things at the same time. So for example, should senior citizens be given more money for recreation centers and food assistance programs? Yes, right? Maybe I say yes, but yes to what? Is it yes for the recreation centers? Is it yes for the food assistant programs? Or is it yes to both? So here you might have a person that writes in yes, but really they only want yes for the food assistance programs, but they don't really for the recreation centers, right? So think about that. You want each question to only ask one thing. The second is having loaded questions. So leading people, right? So here's the example. Do you favor eliminating the wasteful excess in the public school budget? Absolutely, right? Who wouldn't want to eliminate wasteful excess, right? I mean, wasteful is so charged. So kind of think about that. Here we've got our next thing is thinking about or using questions that are emotionally charged, right? So words like rape, waste, immoral, ungodly, dangerous. These are all words that make you feel a certain way. I mean, even when I was reading those words, or saying those words rather, I'm sure that there was a reaction. Now, the reaction may be good, it may be bad, but it doesn't matter. It makes you feel something. And by that token, the question using that word shouldn't be used, right? That word just shouldn't be used at all.